I'm coming at you from a different room today. The wall behind me is actually purple, but it looks kind of white/gray, so that's interesting. I'm so happy to be here with you all on this lovely Friday morning. It is pouring rain here in Connecticut. I'm in a different room this morning because in my office there's a gutter outside the window and it's super loud. And I've kind of gotten used to it, although it's never been quite as loud as today. But I didn't think you'd love listening to it in the video. So I am popping in here a couple minutes early, but that's okay because I will post the recording of this when I'm done. So whether you're listening live or on the recording, let me know how you're doing. Let me know what kind of tea you're drinking. A lot of you have probably already heard me say this, but I love calling these like tea and chats that I do every Friday. But the truth is I'm drinking water. I'm like an afternoon tea drinker. I'm Scottish, so I like taking tea time in the afternoon. So I just have my cute cow mug and there's water on the inside. But I'd love to hear what you're drinking this morning. Yeah, so let me know how you are, let me know what you're drinking, let me know how the weather is where you're living. We've had such crazy weather lately. It was like, you know, negative temps. We had a foot of snow last week, and I looked out the window today and it's pouring rain. It's probably like in the 50s here, and the snow is melting. It's probably going to be gone like by tomorrow, which makes me a little sad because, you know, I've been cross-country skiing and I've been loving it. But you may have also heard that I've been swimming, so this weekend is going to be a big swimming weekend, I think. So anywho, I wanted to come in here live this morning and talk about getting visible when you'd rather hide, showing up when you feel super sensitive, and when getting visible isn't really comfortable. I want to share with you a little bit about my journey and a little bit about how I bounced back and how, you know, I really got inspired to get visible for the long term, right? Because I think we have this thing where we think this like magical thing's gonna happen where maybe we learn something or we make a shift and it's all of a sudden super easy, and that's not the case. So some of you know this story, some of you don't, but I started working online 2 years ago, and I was in like a little bit of a different place back then. I have chronic illness, so I have chemical sensitivities, and I had a lot of health difficulties in my 20s. So 2 years ago, I was just coming out of that and just really starting to feel better. I had been working in person during the time that I was sick and really struggled with a lot of reactions to various chemicals. And finally, I was like, you know what? I'm putting the boundary down. I'm going to work from home, and, you know, there has to be a way that I can show up and take care of myself and also do the work that I want to do. So I shifted online, and it was really overwhelming. I got really overwhelmed really quickly. I hadn't even heard of Facebook groups. I just kind of stumbled across, some of you might have been in it, but it was Gina and Jordana's, what was it, like magical business something. That was the first Facebook business group that I joined and I found. And I spent a lot of time scrolling, and I spent a lot of time thinking that, you know, maybe someone else could tell me what to do, or, you know, what the magic formula was, and it was so overwhelming. So things didn't quite go as I planned. You know, I had a Facebook group. It was a different one than this. Some of you might have been in it, and I really loved certain aspects of what I was doing and what I was sharing, but I didn't feel grounded on the inside. I felt like, you know, kind of like, what am I doing? Like, what's my goal? What's my vision here? Like, what am I like showing up and speaking about every day? I had a lot of trouble with relying on my inspiration too much. So I would wake up every morning and think like, you know, what am I going to post today? Or, you know, I have to post something in my group, or, you know, what am I going to try to market today? And relying on your inspiration like that actually makes your inspiration goes away, for me at least, because it's like I felt super pressured. I felt like I couldn't even think of what to say, you know, and then maybe I'd pour my heart out in a post and I wouldn't hear anything. And that was so disheartening for me. I remember one Sunday I had written like this poem and it felt so authentic to me, and I had posted it in my Facebook group and no one commented on it, no one liked it. And I remember later on that afternoon I swung by my parents' house. My parents lived pretty close to me, and I was like in tears, and I was like, you know, I don't think I can do this anymore. You know, I'm putting in a lot of work and I'm not really seeing any results. And it just felt like, great, you know, I worked in person and I got super sick, and so I'm gonna hop online and now I'm gonna be so overwhelmed. And it honestly felt really horrible. So this was like early fall of 2000. I'm getting my years mixed up. 2016. And it's funny how the universe kind of takes care of you, because kind of like during that time, my mom had a heart attack in summer of 2016, and I think that's kind of, you know, that wasn't helping my case either. But she ended up having heart surgery in September, and it went not good. It went horrible. So she ended up, you know, really being sick, and I was really feeling pulled, like, you know, like how do I show up in my business, and how do I help my mom, and what do I do? Like, how do I keep doing this business thing and get visible when I'm feeling so much, right? Not only in business by looking at other people and how well I thought they were doing, but also like seeing what my family was going through, and it felt so horrible. Let me know if you can relate to that. I think a lot of times it's hard balancing business and balancing life, especially when you, like me back then, were relying on like day-to-day inspiration for your posts, and, you know, waking up thinking, I don't know what my plan is today. Like, I didn't really have a plan. It was like I was waiting for someone to magically like tell me what to do or something. So I still worked online in some capacity, but I had really shifted my focus back to like teaching meditation and leading more like spiritual kind of workshops. And that was fine, right? But I had been working as a business coach previous, and I love that. And you know, my background's in business, and my background is in mental health therapy and teaching yoga, so I love integrating it all and really like talking and helping people mind, body, spirit, and business. So, you know, it's like I almost retreated, like I kind of was like hiding a little bit. It's like, oh, I'll just go back to what's safe, right? Like, I know I can teach meditation, so I'll just do that. Yeah, and then I ended up just taking a lot of space. Hey, so how do I pronounce your name? Is it Bettina? Let me know if I got that right. I'm not the best name pronouncer, Bettina. But I'm so glad you're here. Let me know. You're drinking mint tea. I'm drinking water, but that's okay. So I'll fast forward a little bit on my journey, because I don't think you need to hear about everything. But basically last winter for me was, oh, I got it right? See, cool. So happy you're here. It's so nice to have you in the group. I was just talking about my journey a little bit. I'll post this if you didn't catch the beginning. I can't see on my phone how many people are watching, and sometimes I can't see the comments. So if you ever comment and I don't respond, I'll comment after. So I ended up taking a lot of space last winter and really like taking this journey to find myself. My husband was making fun of me the other day. We were talking about it, and he goes, yeah, you wore holes through your shoes, just because I was like walking so much and, you know, really diving in and being like, you know, how do I want to show up? I think the first time when I was working online, it's like my gaze was external, like I was looking out rather than in, and that was not good. It was just like, it was like I was an open funnel for like, here, tell me what to do, here, let me absorb your energy. So during that time I was thinking just like, there's got to be other people feeling like this. There's got to be other people feeling like they want to make a difference and they so badly want to help. And at the same time, they absorb energy super easily and they're super sensitive to how other people feel and maybe sensitive to getting feedback or lack of feedback like I had gotten, and, getting crickets. It hurts. It's like you feel it more than the average person. So basically, I really was like, you know what? I feel super called to help these women, maybe a couple men, but let's put the cards on the table, mostly women that really want to share their message and make an impact and really do it in a way that works for you and feels good in your body. You were watching others. Yeah, so you totally, I was on the same journey. So stay tuned. I'm going to talk about what I did. So with that shift, the first thing that I did, and I talk about it in a post I wrote next week too, but like spend more time plugged into yourself than plugged into external things or people or messages. So I think that's the biggest shift that I've made this time working. I don't know if Davina's on here, but you'll probably watch the recording. Because I think you usually do. But I had mentioned to you, like, write your content when you're offline, and that's something that I do. Now I'm getting a little better at like staying grounded in my body and, writing my posts and scheduling them in this group while I'm on Facebook. But I'm super duper grounded in myself. I'm not looking at the notifications. I'm not scrolling. I'm not thinking about like, what are other people writing? I'm super tapped into myself. And the way I do that is typically doing something really grounding first. So like walking, yoga, showering, cooking, eating. Those are all grounding for me. So those might look different for you. So I invite you to just think of, what's something super grounded you can do before you write your content? Let me know below. I'd love to hear. And then, so I started like doing that. I started journaling a lot. I actually started this journey on Instagram first. Here's the funny part. I had like no intention of coming back on Facebook. None. I thought Facebook was overwhelming. I thought Facebook was like, I don't even know what the word is. I guess overwhelming is the best word. And so I was like, I'm going to create a podcast. I'm going to go on Instagram. Maybe I'll blog. I'm not going back on Facebook. But here's a secret. I love the community of Facebook. Like, and tell me what you think, but I love being able to respond to people. I love the connections that are cultivated. I haven't found that on any other platform. And I'd be curious. I mean, obviously we're connecting on Facebook, so the sample's probably skewed, but I'd be curious what you think. So I was bound and determined to find a way to show up and stay, really grounded in me and also be able to serve. And I wrote a post on this last night, but as I was embarking in this last March, so maybe early spring, late winter, just as I was kind of starting to do all this, my dad was diagnosed with bladder cancer. And it was such a difficult situation. It was a very aggressive form, very short time span to live if we didn't do anything. So he had one surgery really quickly and it was not successful. And, you get a lot of opinions and a lot of different treatment plans, and he decided to opt for just going right into a full-out surgery to remove, I'm like giving you so much information, but to remove his bladder, prostate, lymph, and I think it was part of his intestines. I can't remember. But the interesting thing about that was it really made me rise. It really showed me how strong I was. And I think that's the message I most want to share with you today is yeah, so you're sensitive. Yeah, so you feel a lot, but what else are you? you're probably strong. You're probably super resilient. You're probably super inspired to share something. So like start shifting your focus on like what else are you? Like what else are you bringing to the table? Love the interaction of Facebook. It's possible on Instagram. Yeah, I totally agree. And for me, I think just like the deeper interaction on Facebook is really fun. So the interesting thing that happened with my dad getting cancer and me starting to work at the same time was it got me out of my head, right? Like I didn't have time to think about things. I didn't have time to think, to look at other people's stuff. I still remember, so here was the interesting thing about my dad getting the surgery and being in the hospital for a long time is my mom was still recovering from her heart attack. So I was at the hospital all day, every day. Hey, babe, I'm so glad you're here. I'm just getting to the juicy part. I'm talking about my dad's surgery. So I was at the hospital all day, every day, and I still remember, I'd wake up at like 5 a.m. and I would post on Instagram before I went to the hospital. So I would be like thinking about and really tuned into myself and post, and then I wouldn't really work the rest of the day. Maybe I'd get some ideas at the hospital, but probably not. I was more like hospitalizing it. But that really got me out of my head, and it really showed me how strong I was and able to show up. And I think that was such a key thing for me in my business. And it was like that horrible situation that my dad went through, which by the way, now he's totally fine. The surgery was successful. He doesn't have a bladder anymore, but so that was just a really good example and a really good portrayal to me of like, hey Liz, you may be sensitive, but you're so much more than that. So when I was diving back into business, I was like, hey, I'm going to take this approach to my business. Like, what else am I? What else are you? I invite you and let me know below, or in the comments rather, of like, what other characteristics describe you? Like for me, it's super determined, super persistent, stubborn, but like those can serve you in your business. So when I came back on Facebook, I was just talking about how like I had no intention of coming back on Facebook. I knew it had to look different. So something I did, which might help you, is I unfollowed all of the groups I was in. So when I went on Facebook and I was scrolling, I didn't see the business groups. Maybe I have like some business friends that I saw their posts on my general feed, but I didn't see the Facebook business groups. So I had to actually go into the group, like type in the group and read it. So I had to be like super aware that I was doing it. And I'm not gonna lie, I was taking care of my dad a lot still, even through the summer, so I was not having time to do that. So when I was creating my content, and still to this day, heart-centered, resilient, and wildly creative, I love those. Those are so good. I relate to all of those. I want to hear more about the wildly creative, because I think that'll be key when you're really digging into like what you want to do in your business. So when you're writing your content, you can think about like doing that grounding activity I cued you to think of earlier, and then writing from within, like writing from that place where you're so tapped into yourself. I used to, I just removed it. I should have left it in here. I used to write everything by hand. So I just cleaned up this room because I mentioned I'm doing the live from a different room. This is my meditation room. And I just took out of here the clipboard with all of the script from my podcast. So I didn't type it or whatnot. I hand wrote it, and it wasn't like the script for the actual podcast. It was for the intro, the one I started with last summer. Yeah, Too Many Voices may have totally relate to that. So you might want to think about like unfollowing groups. I didn't unfollow them all, just the ones that were kind of noisy to me. I since have refollowed them, so that's cool. I felt strong enough to be able to handle that, and so far so good. And you'll see that, I think, as you give your space time to ground into you, you'll find that you grow in strength and grow in resilience. So, you know, when you're getting visible, it's like easier. So I want to talk about getting visible and what that looks like to me and what that can look like for you. And like how, you know, like how do you show up when you feel a lot? And I think the number one thing I want to tell you is like, think about the people you want to serve, right? Like if you listened at the start of this live, I talked about me quitting, and the one thing that brought me back was thinking about the women that were struggling with the same thing I was, which was like wanting to help so badly and not knowing how to do that, like not knowing how to get out of your own way. So let the people that need your services inspire you to show up. So when you're going to show up and when you're going to go write your content or do your videos or go on Facebook Live, you're thinking about the people you're talking to. So like, yeah, maybe I actually love showing up on Facebook Live, so this is not true, but like maybe I'm nervous to show up on Facebook Live, but I'm thinking of you guys, right? Like, and how I want to come together and talk and build community and help you in whatever way I can. So think about the people that need what you have to offer. So you're taking the pressure off yourself and you're really putting the focus on serving the other person. Let me know what you all think of that. So, you know, I was talking to someone this week, and I can't remember who it was, but I think it was someone in this group in a session, and they were saying, I just can't wait to do the work that I, you know, want to do. Like I think she meant like in sessions with people. But I want you to start thinking about when you get visible and when you're sharing content as that's already a gateway and a platform that you're helping people, you know, through. Hey Haley, I'm so glad you're here. You took me off focus for a second, but I was just thinking about, tell me what the weather's like with where you are, Haley. Are you getting the same rain I am? Because you're, I think, right next to me in New York. So thinking about like you getting visible, like that's already you creating change for people. Like you want people to experience a benefit so they want to hire you, right? So like before they even hire you, they're like, damn, I already learned something from her. Like, man, you know, her content's good and I'm already like getting value. I was like, what's that word? Value from reading her stuff, right? Like that's why I hired my coach, because I would notice that I would go in and just want to read her material so I could learn from her. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to learn more. You know, like I'm going to pay her because I want to learn from her even more than I'm already learning through her posts. So thinking about getting visible as just another avenue for you to share and help people that you want to share, you know, share with and help. So, you know, and thinking about how that feels good to you. Like, can you help people through video? Would you rather write? Would you rather do a podcast? Maybe it's like me and it's just a mix of all three and you do it on different days depending on, you know, what you're feeling. And with that said, like, let your content, let the getting visible part be a creative outlet for you. You know, I think a lot of times when you're inspired, when you're sensitive, when you're intuitive, when you're a feeler, you have so many freaking ideas. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I bet most of you, give me a yes if this is true for you, most of you probably have so many ideas that you don't even know what to do with them. So it's like, I call it like, what do I call it? The popcorn head, I think. I know I call it popcorn, I just can't remember if it's popcorn head or mind. But like all those ideas are like bouncing or like swirling, I call it, or spinning. So yeah, that's true for you. I'm guessing that's where the wildly creative comes in, Tina. Yeah, oh yeah, I totally relate. So it's like, I, you know, thinking back, had this like 10 notebooks full of ideas, and I was so frustrated. Like, I have all these freaking ideas, I'm not doing anything with them. You know, and I think a lot of times we get stuck in this cycle of thinking you need to get clients before you can implement your ideas. But it's like, what if each post was an outlet for your ideas? You know, when I started this work, I used to write these notes, and it was like, dear mind, and it was like a quote, or dear body, and I'd write a quote, and like that was just an outlet for me at the time, and it helped my audience, but like really it was just thoughts I was having. So like, what thoughts are you having? What messages could you share little snippets of in your posts or in your videos, so then when you're going to get visible, it doesn't feel uncomfortable. It feels more like, hell yeah, like this message is sweet, I want to go share it with all these people so they can be helped by it. You have stacks of notebooks, Justine. I so relate. So actually, that's something I'm still working on. I have this habit of like starting notebooks and getting like halfway through and then just getting like more notebooks. And it's so silly because I buy the same notebooks. They're like from Stop and Shop. They're like the simple, I either get like the 1 or 3 subject ones. I think for my writing class last fall, I did get the 5 subject, and that was too big. It's like too heavy to carry. So yeah, like starting to shift the getting visible off of the nervousness you feel inside and into the inspiration you feel called to help other people on and with. So when you're going to press post or going to press go live, you're more thinking about like, wow, I need to help, like I need to share this message so it can help these people, right? With that said, I think there's ways that you can do that in a way that works for you better. So I want to talk a little bit about like practical structure here. I used to show up every morning in my old Facebook group and try to write the post that morning. I already said that earlier, but I think some of you are on here now that weren't before. So that freaking did not work for me. And if you're sensitive and if you have a lot of ideas, waking up that morning is probably not going to help for you either, because then you feel pressure of like, OMG, I have to write the post. So what I've started doing, I think my light just flickered. What I started doing is like having content days. So Thursday is podcast day, so that was yesterday. Friday is like my written post days, and I wanna give you a challenge to sit down and write your content in one time period. So you know, I had a goal today to write 5 content posts, 5 more like quotey question posts, and 4 promo posts for my challenge that's coming up that I'll tell you about later. And I did them all except for the 4 promo posts because I decided I wanted to finish off doing something different. It freaking doesn't take that long. And like, you know, I'm definitely not special. I'm not some like amazing writer. And for sure there's some typos in my posts and you'll probably see those. And I'm kind of okay with that because I'm not an editor. So if you post in my group and you have typos, that's okay. Let me know if you're a queen of typos, because I kind of am. I grew up in like the Hooked on Phonics era and it did not work for me. I make that joke all the time, but it's true. Spelling is not my forte. So okay, back to the topic. So when you're writing your content, that way you can be super grounded in you, and then when you go to show up and share it, you're not like so all over the place thinking about like, where am I going to share this, or you know, how am I going to share this. You have your schedule already mapped out ahead of time. So I use Trello. I highly recommend it. I love it. I'm probably not using it as in depth as you could, but in the way that it works for me, it's working perfectly. So I really encourage you to think about what structure would work for you, for your personality. Like, you know, how can you play to your sensitive side so you can capture those ideas and also share them? So for me, that looks like, you know, structured time away from Facebook to write my content. For you, you might do it in like little bursts. And for sure, I still leave room for like inspirational posts, but don't feel as pressured to have to write like a content post every day. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions on that. The last thing I want to talk about is what you do and what's kind of happened with me with the kind of the bad stuff that happens when you get visible, and then also like the growth, because I think both of those can kind of be like game stoppers or self-sabotagers. I hate to break it to you, but like not everyone's gonna like your stuff, and that was hard for me and still continues to be hard for me. I've had a couple of big challenges pop up in terms of feedback and I'll just call them like naysayers, for lack of a better word, that kind of pop out of the woodwork, and I think sometimes try to like drain your energy, or I call it like suck your energy. And I really want you to continue to encourage you to just focus on the people you are helping. You know, I don't know who said that quote, but there's some quote out there like, if you help one person, it's worth it. So I try to focus on that. And I try to get really okay with like having no one like or comment. So like that detaching. So you're detaching from the bad, but you're also in a way detaching from the good, in terms of when good stuff happens, you're not letting it like spike you through the roof with excitement, because that can drain you. So focusing on the good, staying grounded in yourself, and then also like taking time for you throughout. So like I think what happens a lot of times with people is they grow, and then it's almost like this self-sabotage, because it feels like when you have a bigger audience or when you have more work, you're gonna have no life. And I think keeping your life and keeping things that feel good to you and every day is so important to sustaining that growth. I'd love to hear what activities you like to weave into your day to keep you like alive and keep your energy flowing and keep your inspiration flowing. Bettina, do you write a weekly content around one single theme? Yeah, pretty much. Kind of like loosely. So next week we'll be talking about creating a business that feels good to you. So typically I have a system where I'll kind of talk about that in my podcast and talk about it in the group. Maybe I'll talk about it on a live, like I kind of talked about it last week in the live. So that way I'm not like, freaking all over the place with my thoughts. I kind of have like a system. With that said, I think sometimes when I'm actually writing the post, my ideas go a little astray, and I totally give myself permission to go there. So I kind of have like an idea of a general topic, but if like different things pop in, I'm not like sitting there with like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I'm not like, no, Liz, that's not allowed. Like a red pen, like a teacher. So yeah, I have like a loose idea of what my theme is. And typically I have those planned like about a month out. And, for me, my podcast is pretty focal to my content. And then I like to shape everything around that. I really recommend picking like three or four themes and then really going with that. Hey, Monica, I was just thinking about you. I gotta send you an email. I'll send you an email this afternoon. How's Coco? Let me know. Coco is Monica's beautiful dog, for those of you that don't know. So yeah, and then I think like the last thing I want to touch upon is thinking about getting visible so you can do the work you actually want to do, right? Like you're not getting visible just for like ha-has. You're getting visible to build relationships and build connections and gain trust with people and eventually receive clients, right? And I think sometimes when you have that end goal in mind, it makes it a lot easier to hit post and a lot easier to take time to write your content and, make that a higher priority. So often I hear like, I just want to get clients. And it's like, well, are you posting consistently? Are you posting in other groups consistently? And a lot of times the answer for people is no. And I think that's what keeps spurring me along, is just the connections I'm building and the people I'm working with and all of the beautiful relationships that are birthed by pressing post. Oh, good. I'm glad, Monica. Beautiful. So yeah, I'd love to hear what y'all think. If you have questions, if you're live, let me know. If you have questions on the recording, maybe tag me just to make sure I see it. I will fully admit that sometimes I miss posts if I don't see them. I don't know what it is about Facebook. I think right now for my Facebook app, they're screwing with the notifications a little bit. So they're out of order, which makes it sometimes difficult for me to get to all of the responses. But I love seeing all of your posts, and I'm going to encourage you to continue to do so. Yeah, so if you don't have any questions, I'm probably going to go have lunch soon. I'd love to hear what y'all are doing this weekend. I'm going for a swim tonight. Didn't tell you were live. I went live a little early too, so maybe that was why. That's funny though. I'm gonna post the recording though, so you can watch me in the recording and feel free to write questions. I was just gonna wrap up with a funny tidbit. I'm gonna go swimming tonight, and yes, like lap swimming, not like fun swimming. And so I have a swimming background a little bit. I swam a lot in college, and my husband did not. So I mentioned to my husband going to the pool. I've been wanting to go to this pool for like months, and then finally on my birthday in November, I ordered a bathing suit because I didn't have one. And it took me a couple weeks to actually go to the pool. So before I went, I asked him if he wanted to go. I thought the possibility of him going was like maybe 0.001. I thought it was pretty small. But out of nowhere, he decided to go with me, and we both decided to join. And it's so funny because he's like a people watcher, and so he'll get in the pool, and I'm a people watcher too, but not when I'm in the pool. So we'll get in the pool, and he's like looking around, and then we'll leave the pool, and he's talking about like what everybody else was doing, and I'm like, did you swim, or were you just looking around? So every time we've gone so far, this woman has been there using a snorkel, so we're super looking forward to seeing if she's snorkeling Friday nights. Oh, you're having rain? Yeah, we're having so much rain. Not a lot of snow yet, though. So yeah, keep me posted, y'all. Get visible in my group, get visible in other groups. If you didn't see, I'm offering free one-to-one 30-minute calls. They're called Your Next Step to get your next client, or something like that. It's something along those lines. But it's all focused on really honing in on like what's one thing you can do to receive your next client. And I'm so excited to work with a couple of you on this, because I think it can be so powerful to just tap into like what's the one next thing you can do to move forward in your business, to receive your client, to, you know, maybe you want to grow your group or engage your group. That's what I was working with a couple people with yesterday. So if you have like something in mind that you're feeling like, hey, I'd love to get, you know, support on, I'd love to pick Liz's brain on this, or get some strategy around this, or, you know, maybe you want to get visible and you're not quite sure, drop me a line, tag me below, or feel free to send me a private message, and I'll send you a link to my calendar and we can get that scheduled. Yeah, super psyched to do that with you. All right, my ladies, I will post this. If you didn't catch the whole thing, feel free to rewatch and tag me with questions, and I will talk to y'all later.